of the Nile Delta. It's activities, integrating the activities of the whole Nile. Because the Delta is the far end of the Nile, but still, we have to integrate all of these. So this is the term integration, what we learned here. Now, another very interesting term. We always speak about defensive approach. We never speak about using opportunities. And here I listen to this term. We have to use opportunities to cope with the global challenge, because global challenge added to what we have existing problems. We have a lot of problems, water management, pollution. At the end, at the far end of the system, we have pollution in the Delta, we have water quality degradation, we have competition, land competition, water competition between different sectors. And we have to keep this in mind when I put our policy. One of the things here that we have to incorporate the strategy for adaptation into our planning, national planning. It should be there. We should mobilize appropriate fund as a short and long-term financial for this. Now we have this traditional customs in the Nile Delta. Farmers there represent 40% of our labor working. The agriculture contributes to 20% of our income. So still we have to have them in the policy. So putting this rice at the far end, in the northern part of the Delta, because of the salt intrusion. In the last 2 decades, we have about 50 meters invasion of the 50 meters a year invasion of the sea to the Delta. So we have to protect our coastal area. But still the groundwater is subject to water quality degradation. Then one of the practicing that we practice is introducing the rice cultivation in the northern part of the Delta, try to prevent this saltwater intrusion.
So you're using rice cultivation as a barrier
one
island,
of the,
as it were.
is one, because at the end, it's not fresh water, it's agriculture used water, so we can use it. And meanwhile, we can improve our soil, because the soil is still, in this part, is salty soil. So we have to deal with it with an agricultural drainage water. So that's why we introduce this.
Thank you also for your eloquent words about the experience of being at this conference.
Yeah.
Will Travis, San Francisco. I read in the newspapers that the number of climate skeptics is growing hugely in the US. Do you encounter this when you're trying to introduce climate change as a planning principle into the San Francisco Bay?
We do, but Tracy, let me first off say that, as you know, our governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, was invited to attend the conference. He's not able to be here. We still don't have a state budget. I told him I was going to be on vacation and would be here and I could sit in for him. And he said, would you please make it clear that your views do not necessarily represent mine? And I said that was fine with me because we're having an election in November and it's more important that my views coincide with whoever gets elected then than it does with him. And I have some confidence in this.
You're such a practical man.
Well, when I was hired by the state of California, Ronald Reagan was governor. And so governments come and go, but bureaucrats are forever. And my wife also said to please explain that I do not necessarily represent her views. And my teenage daughter said, Dad, whatever you say, I know it will embarrass me. So with that aside, yes, we are...
That's quite a disclaimer, Will.
We are facing skeptics, but one of the things, and I think the most important thing that we see the Delta Alliance doing for us, and in our discussions we've already seen this happen, is we're all facing the same problems. Deltas are downhill from the rest of the world, and we inherit the mistakes. And one of the things we're having to deal with is climate change and sea level rise, particularly in San Francisco Bay. And we're all facing many of the same problems, but we all look at the problems from our own particular perspective. But when I look at the problem from here, and my colleague from Vietnam looks at it from over there, all of a sudden the problem looks quite different. And having that different perspective is extraordinarily valuable. And let me give you a concrete example. When we realized that we were having to deal with flooding in the future from sea level rise, we thought, well, gee, those folks in Holland have been dealing with this problem for 800 years. Maybe they know something about it. So we approached the Delta Alliance, and they initiated a project in San Francisco Bay. And one of the ideas that they advanced is something that they're doing here in Holland, which is floating communities. And we looked at it and said, boy, that's a very fascinating, innovative, clever idea. Where did you ever come up with that? And they said, well, in Sausalito, in San Francisco Bay. So here was a solution that was right in front of our eyes, but we didn't see it. And I think that is something that we see as coming out of the Alliance, providing that different perspective, providing us with a different set of eyes to look at a problem, and perhaps there are solutions that we all have that we just can't see.
What is Kees Slingerland mentioned that part of the Delta Alliance cooperation would be joint research and demonstration projects. What are the newest impacts of climate change on Jakarta that might serve as a demonstration project for your colleagues here at the table?
One important steps forward that has been taken by my government, supported by the private sectors and also the Dutch government, is indeed having a study. We're going to start with a study of a giant seawall in the Bay of Jakarta. Having considered that there's a land subsidence substantially in Jakarta, which is happening now, and the increase of the seawater level, and that has caused 3 to 5 centimeters each and every year. Imagine in 50 years, you're going to have a substantial threat. So we'll start with the study of a giant seawall. It is about a similar scale as the one in St. Petersburg. Yeah. And I think New Orleans also. But what I wanted to express also, the impact, the newest impact on the climate change in the island of Java and in Indonesia in general. We have 2 seasons actually. One is a dry season and the other one is a rainy season. Yeah. But this year, starting this year, we noticed that there is no more dry season. Yeah. It has a substantial impact on the farmer also. But in Jakarta, we usually use the dry season to repair and prepare our infrastructure for the rainy season. No, you have no chance, but because it rains almost every day. Yeah. Like these days, this is supposed to be still part of the dry season, and we dredge our canals, and we do everything. We put it back into function, but at the same time, you know, the runoff of water from the mountain area keep on coming with the mud, with sludge, and then that has caused a lot of problem maintaining the quality of infrastructure these days.
And the water quality, I assume.
Oh yes, certainly.
Does drinking water become a problem?
The land subsidence is actually also caused by the fact that the groundwater has been extracted by many parties. Though we have put a lot of new regulation on it, and we charge substantial lot of, we do charge